Grace and peace to you, BAAYF. We are on day 2.5. You have seminars, you had games, you have food, you had cabin time, a lot of worship, and then every single shenanigans in between. So we are in session number ba, means 3 in Vietnamese. And so where my Vietnamese people at? Viet people, where you at? Dang, they faded out. Day 2.5. I only really have 2.5 Viets here, and then they all faded out, so. All right. Hey, I'm gonna let you know right now, if you're in middle school, it gets better, okay? So I'm gonna, middle schoolers, I see you like in 6th grade, 7th grade. I'm gonna show you when I was in middle school, okay? This is me in middle school, okay? There you go. All right. Look, this is before BTS, this is VTS, okay? This is Vietnamese, all right? So the 2XL white tees, all right? I don't know what's going on with my hair. I have no idea. This is definitely not appropriate, okay? So you heard of Daisy Dukes, it's like shoulder dukes, okay? I'm trying to show you my shoulders, right? So middle school, it could be cruel. Some of you look pretty good already, okay? But to me, middle school was not kind, okay? To a certain way. High school, okay, those who are in, this is my senior year of high school, okay? So senior year of high school, a little bit different. Now, y'all had senior pictures, okay? They hecka, touch it up, right? I'm pretty sure I had a couple pimples that they probably just edit it out, right? And so high school, if you are a freshman, sophomore, if you are a junior, for those who are seniors, it's so cool hearing a little bit about where you're going for school. Some of you actually met here and going to the same college, which is even more crazy. So it's crazy to see how you get a chance to kind of be blessed. We talked about it, but we didn't go more into detail about we talked about lament and lamentations. And I want to talk about a little bit about, before we go into today's message, about feelings and emotions. And I think there's always a running joke, right, that we tend to talk about feelings and emotions, but we don't actually go into why some of our cultural norms of our churches or our families and who we are, we don't really talk about feelings and emotions, right? And most of our cultures, right, whether it's brown, yellow, black, right, even white, we don't have a sense of how do we talk about feelings and emotions. And they matter how you express them and how you share them. And there's a way to express your feelings and emotions that it's about your wellness. And for some of you here, you're majoring in just how to actually practice wellness. How do we talk about our health? And I read this article. Her name is Menji Kim, and she said there are 7 ways for you to do that are wellness for you. 1 is to learn your history. 2 is to find your community. 3 is to refrain from saying must. I must as an Asian American. I must as an African American or brown or Latino. I must do this because this is what is part of my culture. And you replace your must with I can and I want to do these things. That's also a practice of mindfulness. Of mindfulness, not for your neighbors or your family, but for yourself. Is this what you really want to do? Also, to listen to your inner child. Some of you, your inner child is on a full display, okay? God bless you, amen. But some of you, your inner child is lacking the kindness, the sharing. And please wash your hands, okay? You need to wash your hands, some of you. Some of you are nasty, okay? But the inner child, right? The things you learn when you're in preschool and kindergarten, right? I still remember my kindergarten, all the rules and things that we needed to do. It's also an expression of gratitude. Do you say please and thank you? And do you do it not like this, thank you? Do you do it with actually genuineness? And the small things that people do for you. And lastly, do you rest? Do you legitimately take time to sleep properly? To gain your rest. And your feelings and emotions matter. I have 2 daughters, and for me, I get to hear about their feelings and emotions all the time. And we have a rule in our house is that you could cry as much as you want. I will never stop you from crying. My youngest says, Daddy, I could cry as much as I want because you can't stop me. I said, you're right. I need to understand why you cry. You need to tell me your feelings. You need to tell me your emotions of why you cry. And here's the cool thing for my daughters, right? I want them to constantly know that as their parents, that we're asking about their feelings and emotions. And for me, not only asking, but showing public display of affections to our daughters is to me something that I desire so much for them to know, that how I feel for them is unexpressive and just asking and seeking, and also a very, very, very hands-on approach. See, for my parents, right, feelings and emotions were taught by, if they were sorry, they would buy me things to apologize. They never said sorry to me. My dad and mom would never, ever tell me how they felt because we would never ask them. And don't talk about holding hands and hugs and kisses, right? Like, I'll probably get that maybe once a year, maybe half a decade of a hug or some kind. You see, till this day, I still call my daddy daddy. I give him a kiss on the cheek. He's all weirded out all the time I do that. But as he gets older, right, I know he enjoys it because he smiles. My mom, she still calls me randomly each day in Vietnamese, just checking how I'm doing. And I always tell her I love her when I see her too. Most of you here, right, for your parents, how do you share your feelings and your emotions? How do you do it well? And so I just want to put it out there for you as you begin to think about laments and lamenting. What does that mean? Now, today's question, where do you place your trust? Where do you place your trust? Last night we had our amazing, beautiful, wonderful counselors that oversee all our ladies here. And, you know, I think some of you took it to heart yesterday to be reminded of the people that come in and serve you, not just on staff, right? Staff is so key part of what BAAYF is doing. But they are counselors, men and women, that take a week out of their life with training and different things, and they come and they cabin your cabin. They come and love you for one-on-one times, for your sports, Bible studies. They do all kinds of crazy stuff. And I think last night, just as a reminder, as this kind of sparked to try to remind you that they matter so much for BAAYF. What do we do? Like I told you, I wish I had counselors here. I wish I had someone that was beside me, checked on me, woke me for prayer meeting, lost my stuff, did the, I don't know what kind of baby shark moves were today's, up here, but there was something, right? I wish that they were there. I just had me when I went to camp here. I had just myself, like on the side somewhere. And to have them here, if you see them, they're such a joy. And so today, I'm gonna call the men, the boys, right? So can we call the gentlemen up? So fill out the front row. We're gonna ask them this question. Where do you place your trust and why, right? They can't go like yes and no. So where do you place your trust and why, all right? So you guys just scoot down, come on in there. They want to see you. All right, there you go. I'm going to give it to my first. B, here you go, brother. So where do you place your trust and why? Okay?
For me, I would say my family, God, and my girlfriend. Because they really care for me and they know what's best for me.
He's taken, guys. I think I would definitely place my trust in my family and God as well. I don't have a girlfriend, so
It's all good. It's all good.
But I think my college fellowship, I trust them a lot.
I think I definitely place my trust in order, in family, in God, and in myself. I definitely. No, I'm not gonna explain it. Never mind. Yeah.
For me, I place my trust in family, God, and close friends because they keep me accountable.
Yeah, for me, I place my trust in the Lord, my family, also the future.
For me, I gotta say family, my inner circle, including like fellowship friends, and in Cantonese we call it Dai Lo. It's just like your mentor, basically. Yeah.
For me, I would definitely place my trust in my family, as all of you said, and in God, especially in God, because with Him all things are possible.
Good answer, good answer. All right, gentlemen, have a seat. Wonderful. Thank you. They're all cordial. They're all nice, right? They're all like polite. You know, like when I was younger, my first experience to a church was going to a Cantonese Japanese church. Okay, it was crazy. Like our pastor was Chinese, he spoke Cantonese, and then his wife is Japanese, right? So like my first experience to a church was like half in Cantonese and half in English, right? And so I would come in, they're like, "Joe-san, turn to page up," but yeah, you know, I was like, "What? What's going on?" Right? And I'll learn all like the cheesy like Cantonese like lingo, like she's ho langa and chasu bao and like yomakawa chowa, right? Like all these little stuff. Right, but I would never learn Cantonese. I was like, there's no way. I couldn't even learn English. Remember, I couldn't read, y'all. Remember, sun up? Like, there's no way, right? So let alone like Vietnamese. So looking for a Dai Lo, I'm like, dang, Dai Lo. Like, I definitely didn't have a Dai Lo back then. So, before we go more for it, right, there are so many different other schools and churches that I haven't given shots out to. Like, I talk about Lynbrook. I talk about like Harker, but like I don't know, it's like 4C churches in here. I had a chance to kind of like be part of Trellis a little bit, and so some of you, I know some of you, which is so cool to see you here. I'm like, why you didn't say hi to me? Like, I'm like, why didn't you say like, hey, I know you from Trellis and 4C, so it's a blessing. There's tons of schools here that like, it's not because I don't like you, like I just didn't talk about you. Like Lincoln, Lowell, Wash, I know you all there, right? I see you, okay? St. Ignatius, Reardon, I see you, okay? Midi for sure. We got schools like CCA, like used to be CCS, they had drama, and that was a whole other story, right? So yeah, you're some of you shaking your head, you're like, I know. But there's tons of you from like different churches here, and so like, it's not because I'm ignoring you, like there's so many different circles that I've got to know, and it's so cool that you're all here, like incognito, you're here, and it's a blessing, and like it's a full circle to see that. I think these gentlemen here, they said all the right answers, but some of you in the back that's sitting down, you're like, yeah, nah, that can't be true 100% of the times, right? Because we all know that, like, where do we place our trust? And if we were to say, like, if I were to told you, like, my favorite book in the Bible is Genesis, hey, everybody, like, you're like, nah, you're lying, right? But the reality is that can be true, but there are other things that affect our answer sometimes. And if I would be honest with you, we place our trust in anything but God at times. That's just the reality, right? I mean, that's just true. So we place our trust in social media, our peers who are our Dalos, right? Our school, right? School could be any kind of school, right? Maybe you're in the school of like TikTok, the school of like YouTube, the school of like anime and like mega and like all these different things. You're in like this school, right? For some of you, like looks are a big deal. Yesterday, I met like this girl that her sister, she has like 60,000 TikTok followers and she's in the UK. I was like, dang, 60,000 people? One of my interns in Oakland, right, he's in my program, like he's this Viet guy, his name is Kui, right? He has like 26,000 followers of just like what he wears in Vietnam. I'm like, dang, 26,000 people following you. Looks. Our looks, something that we follow, IG and like Facebook, there's just an algorithm of what we follow. And I think a lot of times, right, for some of us, right, it's shoes. I mean, for me to tell you, like, for a period of time, like, sneakers, like, were my gods. Like, that's all, like, I followed and like, camped out for and, like, obsessed. And then, like, what if I were told you or tell you that I have, like, over 400 pairs of shoes, like, would you believe me? Some are like, yes, you do, because you probably follow me on IG, which is true. You're cheating, all right? But yes, I do have like 400 pairs of shoes, and then in a season of my life, right, they were a huge idol of me. Now, this is why sometimes for me when I was growing up, idols are cool, because some of your idols, right, it not only is it cool, but it controls you. It captivates you. It affects your feelings and emotions. It's basically, it circumferences everything that you do every waking moment because you want to give into this coolness, for sure. But until that coolness, right, this idol, that it actually kills you in all these possible ways, it reminds you why idols are not so cool. But some way, you still think they're cool even though when they kill you, right? And it's interesting. Now, the siege in Jerusalem, right? This is in Lamentations, right? Jeremiah right now is what? He is lamenting. He is complaining. He's churning. He's like, I need to see the siege of Jerusalem. There's the past of Jerusalem and its glory. There's now the contrast of like what once was and once wasn't anymore. It was when everything was gone. Now, what's happening in the book of Lamentations, chapter 4? Now, some of you have been going really well into this book. You've been reading chapters 1, 2, and 3. Some of you, it's a struggle. And I got you. Last night, hopefully, I got you a chance for you and your amazing cabin counselors, right, to go through the questions and not read much more than what you need to. And so these kind of quick on little intros into this chapter gives you a little more insight, as we're almost done, y'all, from chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, before I go in chapter 4, this room that we're in, as you got to know me, got to know who I am, right, there's a disclaimer that what I share with you, right, I'm not, again, your square person that tends to talk very swell and use verbiage and language that are proper. That's just not me. And so time now and then, I will have words like the word dang. I want you to be imaginative, right, that I will have another word for it, and I'll go off script. So if you go home and tell your mom, hey, there's a guy up there saying all quote-unquote these bad words, which is true. They are a word that I probably wouldn't use, right? But sometimes, right, it's verb slippage from me. And I want to say that it's not a proper way. And so I am working on my language for y'all too. But let's also be real. You all hear language that is just full of just profanity and different things from things you watch and see. And so that's my foresight for you as a disclaimer, all right? I'm doing my best to be cognitive of my time with you. But also in this room, I'm just going to be real with you. I'm not perfect, and nor do I need to be perfect because I don't have to be perfect. And I think the reason why that you're here is because you're not here to hear a textbook person just speak well to you so that you can live a well life, that we don't really talk about what's going on behind what we tend to make idols. But I'm going to be real with you. But at the same time, too, I also want to be respectful and kind and gentle of what BAAYF represents, what our time together. And I do love and care for you. And you know what? I'm not perfect, and I'm glad that I can be just honest with you for that. Now, what's happening in Lamentations 4? So this is what's happening, okay? That they're the chosen people of God, and Israel used this proudly to ignore God's warning, and the Israelites saw themselves as a special people who deserved to earn this great city in Jerusalem down the south of Judah. Remember, the northern is gone, okay? The south for now was going to go ahead and be inhabited by the Babylonians. The north was taken over by the Assyrians, okay? So they believed that they were so special that this great city of Jerusalem was theirs to have. But what happens is that God says, you know what? The consequences of you to defecate my Torah, who I am, as this covenant, as my chosen people, I'm going to give you the full barrage what happened in the north to the south, and I will not just do it, I will destroy you. And that's what he does. And Laments does this. Laments points to things that we put high hopes on, that in this chapter focus on a couple of things. And most of you here, I mean, the way technology works now, back then when I was first here 25 years ago, I didn't have a cell phone. I had a CD player, okay? Did I have a cell phone? I did have a cell phone. I had a Nokia 8820, okay, which is this analog digital phone where the most coolest game you had was Snake, okay? All right, so that's what I had, right? But I had a CD player. Now, up to now, every single news outlet for you to figure out what's going on in the world is at the fingertips. There's Wikipedia. There's other outlets for you to check out if this church is going on through this situation, news, and different politics of views, and whether this comes to race or sports, different things. And so what's going on right now is in this chapter, you focus on, are there lament points where Jeremiah was seeing, and he says it all in this chapter. He points to money, there's greed, there's leaders that shouldn't be leaders that have their downfalls, there's comfort, there's laments of spiritual authority who have had their position on these high places, right? But they committed what? Fraud, adultery, lying, and they did not speak well of what God was doing. And lastly, there is this divine power that people had literally at their hand tips, right? That they would abuse. And sadly, for all you here, whether you know or not, there are young people like you who are leaving communities of faith, of churches, right? Within their context of fellowships and their dalos and the aunties, uncles, they're leaving their faith because institutions of churches have hurt a lot of people. A lot of people. And I've been the one raising my hands who that hurt me tremendously. We got pastors here, retired pastors here, that love the Lord so much that they, in the midst of all this lamenting, they're still here serving you. And that's a joy. That's a blessing from your pastors like Pastor Joe, Pastor Newman, Pastor Victor, Pastor T, Brother Don. We have all these different pastors that are in this season of these dark clouds of lament. They're here serving you, which is to me is so crazy. It's so crazy. Now, what are these idols and why do we place hopes in them? Now, this is what happens when we place hopes in these idols, right? Our hopes get wrecked by idols because it reveals the hardships that we ought to go through because we've been preaching, right, a fake good news to ourselves because these idols actually make us feel good. Looks, social media, our peers, our friends, and things that are materials that actually make us really happy and enjoyable. Explicit drugs, drinking, or they're material things. They're from makeup to shoes to, like, I remember going to Gap and if I like one pair of pants, I'll buy 6 pairs of it in different colors, right? Because that's that fit that I like. So there are all these different idols that cause you to what? To be preaching a false gospel to you. Now, in the Hebrew Bible, you see this over and over again in the Old Testament, that it takes over different cities and different prophets and people over and over again. Idols become their gods over and over and over again. Now, there's an Asian American biblical scholar named Sung Chan Ra. He says that symbols of success and power are destructive. Symbols of success and power are destructive. He says that in his book, Prophetic Laments, right? What he's saying is that in the wrong hands, power and success will also be your downfall. And as we go to the Old Testament and the Hebrew Bible, we see that all over, that there's constant destruction, right? So, in this season, there's sorrow in this season for Jeremiah. He gives an opportunity to grieve his heart to God. So what he does is that he processes layer by layer. He laments in poetry and song. But it allows us to see the idols that we can handle the sorrow. So he sees the idols that he's wrestling with and these sorrows of this pain and this grief. It gives him an opportunity, right, to create and see how God created him, to not mistreat him and see other gods that he created before God. But he says that, you know what, I got to do something about this. What am I going to do about these idols that are false? Now, there's a wicked, cool guy named John Mark Comer. I'm in a season right now where I'm like my palette of like having like white pastors or white evangelists trying to teach me of like my color and who I am is like very, very low. But John speaks in a way to be an ally, to see beyond his European whiteness. And he has this book that I really enjoy. It's called Live No Lies. And what's really neat about Live No Lies is that he talks about 3 things that affects what's going on in our world right now. He talks about the devil, the flesh, and the world. And it's so true because we live in a world where there is the flesh. Satan is real, y'all. Like, we don't believe that there's just God, but there's not an equal to him, but there is this being that's trying to corrupt and make you follow the ways of not Jesus, the ways of Satan and his legion of army that is saying, hey, come over here. And when I was growing up, I used to watch Tom and Jerry and like Looney Tunes, and the devil was like, like a red outfit with a pickaxe and look horns and all that. The devil, y'all, right now is not that. The devil could be a pair of Air Jordan 1s, right, that like look like a certain way. The devil could be a girlfriend or a boyfriend. The devil could be something that you're addicted to because you enjoy this way of feeling that moves you from God, and it's an idol that pushes you away. Now, every day I've been gluing this vase back, and it's coming to part. But isn't it interesting how in the front, you all look good, you know what I'm talking about? But the backside, and this vase ain't wearing no Daisy Dukes, okay? It's just exposed, right? It's broken. Like, you see the wires from the other. And it's interesting of, like, the more and more I put this back, right? Yesterday, I got, like, a whole bunch of Gorilla Glue in my fingers. And then over time, I was able to wash it off. But, like, the more and more this vase from afar, right, it looks okay. It looks pretty decent. But when you come up to it, you see all the cracks and missing parts and see the Gorilla Glue. And I think sometimes with you, when I come up and I get a chance to share with you, like, I get a little timid about, like, my cracks. A little timid of who I am. Even when like I'm like rebuked or talked about, hey, maybe you should do it this way, that way, I get kind of defensive. Like I'm like, hey, this is who I am. But I'm reminded that this is that when you are in tune with God and you want to be used by him, right? it's less about you and your cracks and who you are, and it's more about who God is. And you begin to what? You begin to not focus on your own cracks and where you're coming from, who you are, and begin to focus on who God is. And you rest in that moment and go, all right, God, like this is kind of what you are, who you are. And so in this book, John Mark Comer says this that is so good, and I want you to kind of sit back, kind of close your eyes and just sit, and just, you don't have to look at me or anything, just kind of take this in. It says, every time we sow to the flesh, or put another way, every time we give into our flesh's desire to sin, we plant something in the soil of our hearts, which then begins to take root, grow, and eventually yield the harvest of a deformed nature. Dang. Therefore, the same is true of the Spirit. Every time you sow to the Spirit and invest in the resources of your mind and body into nurturing your inner man or woman's connection to the Spirit of God, you plant something deep in the humus of your central fabric of who you are, which over time takes root and bears the fruits of Christ-like character. What he's saying is that what you sow in your soil begins the trellis of a foundation that is good or it's evil. And I'm like, John, you gotta preach, brother. Does anybody need this book? Who hasn't have it? Who haven't? Yes, you. I know you broke your glass, so today hopefully this will make your glass feel a little bit better. You're welcome. Hey, Natalie, she didn't bow, Natalie. Where's Natalie at? Natalie, she didn't bow, Natalie. No! I don't want you to bow. Okay, all right. From now on, if anyone bows at me, you're going to give me 30 push-ups, okay? 30 push-ups. 30 push-ups. You know, John Mark, it's so true. What do we sow? And for some of you, you're like, I'm here at BAAYF. And some of you, like, you're sowing the seed to be here, and you're focused, and you're here. For some of you, hey, this week is hard. Like, you don't know why you're sowing here. And there's all these, like, rules and, like, you know, like, things and times and meetings. And it's wonky. It's a little bit off. And I feel you. My ADHD and ADD, I was like, why do I have to show up? Why do I got to be here? Like, can I just stay in my cabin and come off of different things too? And that's the me and me of like this is not as important to me. But I think what's crazy is that for some reason why you're here and like, you're listening, like I'm going to keep pushing back and say, you're not listening to me. You're going to keep listening to what God is trying to speak to you and try to reinforce into you, try and plant this seed of goodness in you that cannot be taken away if it's on good soil and for a purpose. My daughter's here. She's not a camper. She's exploring, seeing. And I'm so blessed by the ways that some of you have interacted with her. Some of you who are campers and counselors and staff. It's so beautiful to me because I want her to see God's goodness because I was missing that when I was younger. And for some of you who do that, you don't even know how much it affects people because it's so good. It's so good. As we're continuing to TCAT, talked about the T for turning to God. The C yesterday, you know, talked about how Jeremiah was complaining. And today is the A is for asking. What are you asking, and what do you do that you love to ask for God for things that are sometimes confusing, that are hard? Do you ask for forgiveness? Do you ask for change? What are you asking God in this time for you as you lament, right? That it sounds so ridiculous to God that only He can only listen to you and bear you. But it's not ridiculous to Him because you know what? He might give it to you. He might give it to you. Y'all know that some guy in Illinois won $1.16 billion in the lotto. And you know what? The first time when I saw him, I was like, I'm so glad I'm not you. Because you know why? Everybody's going to be asking him for something. Everybody's going to be asking for something. And people that he don't even know, I mean, he might as well be marked for life, in my opinion. But I'm cool. I don't want to be like, that's why when I think of him, like, I'm good. I don't want no lotto. I'm good where I'm at. What are you asking? What are you asking as you're lamenting in this season for you? You know, when we practice the ways of Jesus, how do we follow Jesus and follow something else than ourselves? Because for so much of ways that we follow idols, right, is that we follow these idols. But when I ask you, how do we practice the ways of Jesus? It kind of makes like our back kind of straighten up a little bit and going like, it's different from following our dad or mom, right? Or our guardian. Or your ama and agong. It's different from following your aunties, right? Your friends, right? Even your school. But when I say Jesus, what kind of perks up for you? Like when you say, how do you practice the ways of Jesus? When we practice the ways of Jesus, we are creating a counterculture to comfort and replace what? So the same partners, I want you to go ahead. What culture are you going to be replacing when you say, I want to practice the ways of Jesus? And for example, for me, right, I'm a proud Asian Viet, like to the core, like, cause I'm owning my Asianness, right? Like that's just like, but for a while though, I'm not gonna lie to you, when I was in 5th grade, I did not want to be Vietnamese. I wanted to be Joe Trung, okay? So I legally changed my name in 5th grade, okay, to Joe, because I did not want to be Vietnamese. Like I wanted to be like any other kid with a regular name. Like, let's be for real, okay? Do you all want to be named On? Like I don't. Like, you know what I'm talking about? You know all the On puns, okay? You know how many times I would have gotten a quarter if everyone called me like, is your name like On and Off? Like, all through my life. And then also, by the way, too, okay, you know right now, okay? If I got $1 for every time someone called me Ann, okay, I'm hella mad, okay? I'm like, I'm not Ann. Do I look like an Ann? And this one guy was like, well, kinda. I'm like, now in middle school too, when you have a name like On, that think it's Ann, I was the only dude that got a locker in the girls' locker room. I didn't go, okay? Because I was like, yo, obviously I'm not a girl. Can you give me a boys' locker in the boys' locker room? They're like, my bad, I'm sorry. So they give me, you know. But like, I didn't want to be On. I wanted to be Joe. Right? I wanted to be Joe so bad. That Joe, okay? That Joe, Joseph. Look, I love Joe so well. I gave him a job at LGCC, okay? And so that's how much I love him, okay? Till this day, Joe, bro, you owe me, Joe. You owe me, brother, all right? You owe me. So do me a favor. Tell your partner, someone that you just talked to or behind you, what do you replace, right, when you decide to want to practice the ways of Jesus? What a counterculture that you replace in you when you decide, right, if you decide to follow Jesus? And this is not saying that you are not or are following Jesus. This is just a blank statement for you to think about, right? So I'm not trying to, I try to indoctrinate you. I'm just saying, if you were to practice the ways of Jesus, what culture are you replacing because you follow Jesus? Is that cool? I'm going to give you a couple seconds to do that. Go ahead and talk to your campers, your friend, your neighbors, whomever it is. Go ahead. All right. Someone laughed. Hi, Natalie. Okay. Yo, I missed something. I didn't do my questions for y'all, so we got to do it right now before we go into the word. So, Natalie, you can't raise your hand. Y'all didn't even ask the question yet, Natalie. Dang, girl. Yo, Natalie's the same girl that bowed to me. Also, she tried to trick me by getting another book, okay? So, Natalie, Natalie. People in Fremont. My goodness. Fremont people. Fremont people. You got Mission San Jose, where my wife went. John Hopkins Elementary School. Middle school. Yeah, I know you don't. So there's also American, Washington, and then there's also some good schools there. So Fremont, what's up? Okay. All right. So 3 questions for y'all. Anything, anywhere. So pop it off. Go ahead. Any question? Raise your hand. Okay, I can call upon you. Okay, Natalie. Football club? Yo, she went Euro on me, like football club, okay? Okay, I don't watch European football, okay? I know, I'm sorry. If I did, I would watch FCB, okay? So they would probably be the one that I will watch. I know you're probably thinking like I'm like watching like Man U or something. I don't know. Okay, there you go. I disappointed. If you're Euro soccer, I'm so sorry. Like, you know, pray for me to watch European soccer, okay? Okay, you, miss, with the hair. That's super nice. Yes, you. Yeah. Do I have any pets? No, I don't have any pets, but my daughter had a couple of fishes. And so, yes, I don't want to talk more about the fishes because they're no longer here today. So no, y'all, it's not funny. Like, they're just not here anymore. We also can't have pets because my children are allergic. If I did have a pet, I want a dog. I want that really cool Japanese dog, the Shiba Inu, that kind of dog. I'm not even probably saying it right. You're probably butchering. Whatever that. Yes, that's. Get it? No bird. Okay. Okay. Last question. Yes, you, sir.
What's your scariest moment?
My scariest moment? Okay. All right. I'll keep them as short as I can. Okay. So, we leave Friday night's youth programs in at 10 o'clock. I was a youth director at Home of Christ 3 in Fremont. There's a bunch of Home of Christs all over the Bay Area. That's where I learned how to do ministry. Pastor Paul, T.S. Lee, amazing guy. Brent Jones, not the football player, another guy, like really ushered me into having an opportunity to really love the Lord and kind of serve and get to know youth ministry really, really well. And it was so cool because we would have youth on Friday nights, and that would be our Sunday. We'd have 120 kids come out. And that was their spot to hang out, high schoolers only. And we have a separate ministry called 180 that was just junior hires. And it was amazing, you all. We did some crazy stuff, but God was present. I mean, it was the climax of most of our, like the Fremont community. It made it onto the yearbook of a place to hang out on a Friday night, a secular hangout place to hang out on a Friday night. We closed shop. Our building was getting construction. And then we lock up. And then, like, I try to lock the code. And, like, the code gives you, like, what's open. I'm like, hey, door ain't closing. Like, and then like it says the door to the construction site is open. We're like, oh snap, like somebody here. And so like I didn't even think. Like I was like, and then when we hear the code doesn't go off, we hear somebody like rumbling stuff on the construction side. I'm with my then not yet wife. We're still dating. Like I just jam. I run out. I leave her, like, I'm wearing, like, sandals, flip-flops. I run out. I leave her. She's like, what are you doing? I'm out. Bye, babe. Like, I run out. We go to the other side, okay? We get in the car. She's like, why you leave me? I said, you ain't fast enough. Ain't my fault, okay? So, like, we get in the car, okay? And then we sit in the car. We call the cops. We're like, hey, there's somebody on our church side that shouldn't be there. And what was happening was that there were people, like, during this time in Fremont that were, like, going to businesses and propping doors, like, open. So in the middle of the night, they'll come back and steal all the stuff inside the church or different things, right? So then the cops come. And Fremont, this is Fremont, right? Well, 1, there's no gangsters in Fremont, okay? 2, all right, there's nothing to do in Fremont, okay? So then the cops show up. We're like, hey, somebody's in our other side of our building. The cops roll up, and then Fremont SWAT shows up. I'm like, what? I'm like, I didn't even know Fremont SWAT was even Fremont, okay? So they roll up, okay? And when they roll up, they go like, what's going on? Like, we think there's somebody in there. They're like, all right, stay here. Don't come back in here. And then they go in there, okay? And this is trippy. So like, basically what they did was that they went into our building, okay? They like, you know how most like Asian American Chinese churches, right? You have like the floor plan of your church on your wall. I don't know why. It's just there, right? When you walk through. They smashed that. They grabbed it out and then went room by room checking all the rooms, okay? So then They didn't find anything. It was all cool and totally fine. But this is what happens. While Swa was in there, one of our youth was like, "Where's On and Echan?" Because we usually go to TapX to go and to go get boba, right? They're like, "On's not here." Like, that's unusual. So Jen, one of our youth, rolls back right in the middle of SWAT coming in, okay? She basically gets the whoop whoop, get out of the car, all this crazy stuff, okay? So, she was fine, and then she ushered her out. But then the next day of on Sunday in church, okay, we have this bathroom in the women's bathroom because I know it's there because we, after youth ministry, look, youth, for your churches, please clean up your bathroom, please pee in your bathroom. Please pick up yourself. Please the napkins. Anyways, okay, so we always clean up the bathroom, okay? And there's this one door in the women's bathroom that's always locked, no matter what, okay? And I kid you not, okay? On that door was this giant footprint of a SWAT guy, okay? On the door, because the door is locked, right? It's just always locked. So what do y'all think he did? He went, boom, I don't know what he did, right? Whatever, right? But obviously no one's in there, okay? Right? So that's probably one of the scariest things. I understand I left my wife. That's messed up. I get it. She still married me, okay? It's totally fine, all right? So till this day, I go back to my old church sometimes. That footprint is still there, okay? It's they never clean it, all right? So again, youth, clean your bathroom. If you pee, one time when I was at church, okay, I was doing number 2, not in my pants, okay, I did number 2 in the toilet, okay. There's one little youth guy that come and you get, you know how you have the Cantonese or Mandarin kids they kind of walk in the bathroom, they go do a thing, and I'm watching him go pee, I hear him go pee, and then he opens. I'm like, homie didn't even wash his hands, dude. I said, hey, go wash your hands, and then he hit the door closed. Oh, sorry. And then he washes his hands and he can go out, okay? If you see people don't wash their hands, you could tell them, go wash their hands, okay? All right? That's probably one of the scariest thing. All right? That's probably one of the scariest thing. All right. With that, hey, BAAYF, we're going to pray and we're going to go to the word, y'all. Hey, Father, Lord, thank you for this evening that we just gather. I know for many it is so tiring. It's a second full day, and we've done a lot. And there's so much going on. But I think one of the most amazing things about being here together is that it's a mixture of those who are maybe lamenting, and it's confusing even why they're here, and stressing about there's other bigger things that they're even thinking about. But there's those here that are genuinely seeking you, and they're wrestling with some huge decisions in their lives. And all of that mixed together is this beautiful mess, this beautiful concoction of life together. And I will not be anywhere else. And to speak into here this evening as one of many people here that have been praying, that have been grieving, lamenting, that have been fasting, that have been thinking about the day that BAAYF comes back in person. And to see here that it doesn't have to be perfect. It's about just gathering people here so that we can have a conversation. And what does it mean to follow Jesus and the practice ways of Jesus in this time of sorrow and pain? And it's not perfect. And I get it. And this is counterculture when we do this together because it's hard. But I would rather not do it with anybody else than this community here, right now, in this moment. Thank you for this group. May you open their eyes because they're tired. Open their hearts. Allow them to take in your words. Amen. We're in Lamentations. We're only going to give 3 verses for you all. Okay, Lamentations, okay, chapter 4, verses 3 and 4 and 9. Now, this is what's happening in this chapter. I told you a little bit right now is that Jeremiah was lamenting about these idols that the city, have put onto money, people, divine power, and people influence, okay? And there is a lot of lamenting and sorrow now. Yes, there were talks about this new horizon for you, about this mercy, about this hope, about this place that you can begin to seek and discover about you, even in the midst of all this craziness, all right? And so that new hope is still going forward, but this is what happens, right? Jeremiah, right, now he has to face, okay, he's still lamenting and grieving. He knows that the truth is that the truth of the heart is that God is real, he's present, but he also knows that his feelings and emotions are real, and these idols in his heart, they're not just going to go away. See, people have changed the simple ways of treating one another with love and care for the worse, not the better, with no compassion and no social values. The city of Jerusalem was these cultural norms, right? And base relationships were now toxic. Compassion was now corrupted. You know, something that I enjoy the most, y'all campers, okay, is that for me, one of the biggest things that I enjoy the most is that when I get a chance to see some of you and talk to you, and here's a cool thing. I'm glad you were a name tag, because I'll be like calling your names. You're like, how does all know my name? I'm like, yo, you are a name tag. Like, hi, Diana. Like, hi, Noah. There's 2 Ians here. But you know what's crazy? My daughter, who is at Elise, like, I could have sworn I was going to have a son. My wife was like, yo, I want meat. I want to eat meat all day, every day. And I was like, I'm going to have a son. Like, this is going to come true. Like, I prophesied. Like, I went to, like, this, like, kind of, like, you know, color me mine, where you like, do a little, like, you know, like an object, and you color, I color his shoe. It looked like an Air Jordan 1, and I put Ian on the bottom. I was like, I'm going to have a son one day, right? And so we go to ultrasound, and then, like, all those who've gone to ultrasounds before, you know what a boy is and what a girl is. A boy, there's like a piece of, it's like junk. It's right there. You just see it. It's a boy. Girls, it's a line. So I'm like, I'm gonna get a boy. I'm gonna get a boy. And then the ultrasound comes up. I'm like, I'm gonna get a girl. My wife's elated. She's happy. She's like, we're gonna save money. All the clothes that was Kara's. Like, this is great. This is totally fine. I'm like, I'm gonna get a girl. Gonna get a girl. I think there's ways for us, right, when we think about caring and love for one another, right, that it's amazing when it's like upfront. But what's crazy is that when it is not upfront, right, it's hard. How do we treat others, right? Well, not with corruption, but compassion. And it's so much easier to say things that are meaningful and hurtful. And I'll be the first person to raise my hand. Like, I do this a lot. I will course stroke with somebody so hard that I'll know when to stop is when they cry. I'm like, dang, I'm sorry. And then that's probably not enough. And so I feel really, really bad. And then I find out what they really, really like. And then I'll go there and buy it, Amazon or whatever it is too. And then it's just awkward, right? It's just awkward for a long, long time, right? But sometimes that's what corruption does, is that sometimes we don't know where's the line to be drawn. And for me, like, I could be like the course stroker of all time. I could be petty, but there's a line. And how do we do compassion and love? And Lamentations 4, we're talking about the toxicity of idols in our life that could lead to, right, pettiness and corruption. Lamentations 4:3, it says, even jackals offer the breasts to nurse their young, but my people have become heartless, of ostriches in the desert. People were so bad to one another that animals were treating other animals better than how humans were treating humans. You know, we're in a time right now where it's like sulfur city, right? I mean, we were in a pandemic where people were fighting over toilet paper, y'all. Like, that's just truth, right? People were rationalizing, like, tests, kits for COVID-19. People were buying water. People were like, isn't it crazy that, like, you had, like, senior citizens that go and shop from 6 to 7? That was the only time senior citizens would come into the shop, and then people trying to barrage the system to go in there and shop during as seniors. I'm like, y'all messed up people, man. Like, there's some messed up people out there. And like, all of us here, like, let's be real. We have grandmas and grandpas, right? And our Asian aunties and uncles, right? That like stock up on free napkins at Chipotle, okay? You know who they are, okay? And they don't even share, okay? And so you all know during the pandemic, they had like, some houses, right? That like the gold mine of like stuff that like, I'm just saying right now that they didn't share. But that's just the reality of this, is that humans were treating non-humans well. A friend of mine, he's a pastor in the Richmond at this church called New Hope. You know, there's a guy from Detroit. He's the whitest brother I ever met, but he has a heart for this community in the Richmond. And every single week, even in the pandemic, they had an offering of food for the community, and you had to be from the community. And my brother, it was just a joy to see how he served, because he had no limits of not wanting to be with other humans. He wanted the human actions because they needed help. And how many of you here are part of something that helped other humans? Think about that. Was it part of your DECA club? Was it part of your, like Chinese, language speaking classes? Were you part of a nonprofit? Were you part of something that was giving back? Were you doing online virtual tutoring? Were you like a reading buddy? Like, were you giving back in different ways because you want to be human? This time right now, in the city that was broken and smothered in Jerusalem, people were not treating others well. Animals were way better. Verse 4, Lamentations 4:4, it says, because of the thirst, the infant's tongue stuck to the roots of their mouth. The children beg for bread, but no one gives it to them. Babies were dying of no food. There's a famine. And children, generations that were wiped out. When I think about in this room here, right, recently there's a Supreme Court ruling on what is life, what is the decision making on what life is. Now, I'm not going to go into the minutiae of this, right? But I want this because you are students here and you are smart and educated here. Did you know that God loves every single life that is created in him first before it becomes into fruition here? And I'm going to leave it as that there were babies dying here that had no food. And I think about that. I think about, we recently had a formula shortage, right? People were getting formula from overseas. And a friend of mine's, he's part of this car crew that I belong. He has 3 children. 2 there were preemie babies that came in this world that was really dire. He was posting on Facebook, if you need formula, I have plenty. Come contact me. No questions asked. Please use it if you have an infant. It was so cool to see what he was doing. So, think about this. How precious is life? Did we just kind of just overhear, don't think about it? Here, children are dying. Lamentations 4:9 says this, those killed by the sword are better off than those who died of famine. Racked with hunger, they waste away for a lack of food from the field. A new culture settled in this place in Jerusalem. The hopelessness and people wish for death. They're like, you know what? We should just die. In order to live, because living was death alive. And say, you know what? I don't even want to live anymore. Like this should be done. This past weekend, I attended one of my youth's wedding. Her name is Yuli Honda. For some of you here, you have stories that you have yet told others about the mental wellness and state of who you are, because there's depths of layers of depression and anxiety, and that no one knows that you actually do want to die instead of live. See, Yuli was one of our youth that was brought by a friend that was concerned for who she was. And at any given Friday night, we had 120 youth, different schools, different backgrounds. Our youth ministry became a refuge from other Korean churches because they felt like their Korean churches were too rigid, too crazy, too conservative, that they could not be who they are. They've come to our ministry. So we had Korean students, we had Chinese students. It's amazing. Now for me, being in a vast multicultural of different races and places has been a joy for me living in San Jose. My best friend growing up in high school was Latino, Carlos Ramirez. He was the youngest out of 6, and I was their second son. They didn't call me On, they called me Juan, okay? So they called me Juan. I was a smart son who graduated from high school, who used their computer to print out stuff, who utilized everything, and Carlos ended up not graduating high school because he became a statistic. He got his girlfriend pregnant in high school, he dropped out, and his whole line of siblings, all 6 sisters, had a baby in high school, which is crazy. But that was just what it was when I was growing up. I mean, our high school had a nursery in front, a daycare in front of our high school, for that one reason. And later on in high school, I got to know all the Filipinos. So you are the Filipinos here, like Akabayan, I wanted to be Filipino so bad, y'all. I joined FYC, the Filipino Youth Collision, and you know what? My titos, my lolas accepted me, okay? My kuya was like, On, you're in. I'm like, but I'm not brown. It's all good, brother. You light brown, okay? So and I'm telling you right now, okay, when I was young, there was some hella fine Filipinas, okay? So I was like, I'm not gonna lie to you, okay? I wanted to be Filipino. I wanted a Filipino wife, okay? But the Lord had other plans, okay? So, but I was part of like cotillions, so quinceañeras, So like I had it all. Like something about knowing your neighbor, knowing who they are is just beautiful. So beautiful. You know, and my best friend now, right, I told you, he's half Cantonese and half Belizean, so he's a different kind of black. He's like, you know, the island's black, Belize, like, so, like, when I see him, like, I get to know his culture from Belize, and it's just crazy. And so when you see him walk around, like, we look like we don't belong together. Like, he's 6'3", he's, like, black. He looks for sure black with curly hair. I'm Viet, right? And I think at times, too, we talked about this during the season of lament, the season of, like, the racial injustice and social injustice, like, there are times we talk about like, hey man, like we're in the car together, like we're not safe together on, and it's true. If I'm driving and he's driving, right, there's questions of why we're together, simply because of this skin color. And diversity, the beauty about diversity is that it challenges you to really think about God's creation in different cultures and spectrums. But the beauty of God's creation too is that, hey, you all can invite people of different cultures and spaces and colors like to your table, to who you are, in your quad, in your tables at school, your friendship groups, who you commune with, who you talk to. And here's the thing, somebody challenged me with this. It's not about do you have this friend who is this color and then you are okay. It's who do you invite to your dinner table, your meal table, that breaks the norm for you to actually get to know others. And that's the beauty of you, to get to know others. And that's my push for you and challenge for you. So what does it mean for you to lament? What does it mean for you to have open conversations and saying things from other perspectives that you've never seen before? See, lament opens our eyes to see the idols that we are holding on to create a posture of a culture that is not Christ. It's not Jesus, y'all. As much as I want a Filipino wife, that's not Christ. As much as I was in like the Ramirez family, Carlos Ramirez and his family, like that culture was not like Christ, and like, that's all that I was. It was pretty crazy. When I was in that quinceañera, they were like, yo, why is there an Asian guy in this quinceañera? Like, everybody's Hispanic, Mexican, like, there's this yellow dude, like, and I was proud, y'all. I was doing my dance, you know, I was like, I look good too in that suit too, by the way, okay? You see, idols are not cool, really. They're just really not. We search daily in our hearts for idols not to invade and create a culture in us. Some of you have idols right now that have made camp that has your heart, and you are stuck, and you are settled in. That trellis, that seed is in there good. And that seed is also producing other seeds to grow in your heart and building a strong foundation to make you an idol for a very, very long time. I told you that sneakers were my idols. I mean, so much so that I made sure that I found ways to get shoes at a discount. Now, I didn't steal. Well, I did steal. Okay, that's a whole other story, okay? We'll talk about that in a little bit. But I made sure that I worked at a place, an establishment that gave me opportunity to get shoes. So my first job was at a shoe store called Foot Action USA. So I remembered. So obviously, I'm not the middle guy or the guy on the right. I'm the left guy. I'm the Asian guy, okay? So Manny Ramirez, the guy in the middle, gave me an opportunity to work in a shoe store part-time. And he trusted me so much. Manny, he's from Texas. People in Texas are really cool. He says, he saw my hustle, my drive. I became the men's department head by the age of 16. I was only like a freshman and sophomore. And I became the #1 booking part-timer. I booked so much in sales that he would rather have me than part-time assistants, because part-time assistants get double the commission. They would get 2%. Part-timers get 1%. I was outselling the part-time assistant managers because I just wanted to hustle. So to me, 1% of every $100 is what? How much, y'all? $1. Just think about that, okay? So my goal every time is that I wanted to make $10,000 in sales, right? To me, 10,000 in sales is what? How much? $10,000 is in sales, and 1% of that is what? One what? No, girl, what? $10,000 in sales was 1% of 10,000. $100. Thank you. People who are Harker, y'all need to get your application removed, okay? $100. I mean, $100 on top of my minimum wage back then was $4.25, okay? So every Saturday and Sunday, I would try to book at least $10,000. That was my goal. That was my goal. And I did it most of the times. Sometimes I would get $7,000, $6,000. And I think this job for me was like, I don't know how to deal with people, to talk. And I was hustling in Vietnamese and English. And if you were Hispanic, I would go, hola, ¿cómo estás? ¿Necesitas ayuda, amigo? ¿Quieres limpiar zapatos? ¿Quieres like plantillas zapatos, like the insoles, right? Get all these different things, right? And otherwise I was like, gratis. No, it's not free, right? And so I always upsell, right? That was my hustle. You see, I think for me, for some people, right, like shoes, like whatever, like I'll get a pair once a year. You see, for me, like when I was younger, okay, like idols are not like just doesn't pop out anywhere. Idols are kind of like infusing you. They're influenced by you and given to you. When I was in 6th grade, I wanted to fit in so bad. There was this girl named Caroline, and she was the flyest Filipino chick in the school, okay? But I knew I wasn't gonna have a chance with her. I was like, nah, I'm just like, if I get near her, I feel her coolness aroma. I was like, Kaylee, I was like, Catherine, can you tell me, like, what do you look for in a guy? And this is what she told me. Okay, I kid you not, as an impressionable 6th grader, okay? It's like I look at their hair, if it's good, and like it's trim and it's prim, and like it's good. And then I look at like their clothes, that they're in style, like they're cool and like they're a certain way. And then I look at their money. Do they have money? And then lastly, what I look at is like I look at like their shoes. And I was like, as an impressionable 6th grader, right? Like these are notes to me. I'm like, like, and I was like, everything she was saying, like, don't have that, definitely don't have that. Oh no, for sure I don't have that. And hell no, I don't have those shoes. Like I didn't have those things. And that created in me an idol of what I wanted, what I needed. And so that started this whole life of like an image and a persona that I wanted to be. And so for a big part of my life, from grade school, middle school, and high school, I got suspended for stealing. They were stealing different things. Started from a book where the sidewalk ends. Started from a soccer ball that not Euro ball, but it was MLS ball. It was pretty expensive back then too. Okay, so I was store-bought from that. And in high school, right? In high school, I want you to imagine this. I was the PE locker room manager. So what did I have access to, y'all? Lockers. And what do you think I did with lockers? Yeah, I stole underwear. I should have stole some more underwear when I pooped my pants for sure. That was a good one. That was a good one, y'all. Come see me afterwards. I got you. Come see me afterwards. That's a good one. No, I had combinations of people's shoes I wanted to steal, and I stole them. And I paid for it. I got suspended. Like in front of everybody, in front of my entire school. I got carded in front of everybody. I was such a shame, y'all. That moment in my life, I remember the most was that Miss Valdez, my Spanish teacher, Spanish 2 teacher. She took me in her office and said, I don't care what you did. I know you're hurting. I know you're in pain. Just sit here with me. That was one of the most impactful moments of my life, of knowing that these idols that I was like idolizing sat me down and said, I don't care what you did. I got you, just come here. She shielded me from like all the other people that were like looking, gawking. I remember that moment. You know what's crazy? Every single one of these moments I got suspended, my mom and parents did not know, because you know why? Because they didn't speak English. To call home, they couldn't speak English anyway, so then, you know, and guess who's the translator? Me. And you know where I went when I was suspended? Carlos's house. I spent a week on his bench. I spent a week on his couch. That's a whole other story. I think that sometimes we forget that the value was not necessarily in the shoes itself, was an idol. The value ranges, but they're all basic. Everyone needs shoes. My need, right, wasn't basic. It's because I created an idol. Later on in ministry, right, when I got to know more about my sins and who I was while lamenting the things I had to face and deal with, right, I understood the values of these idols and how do I stop and prevent them from growing and unweeding them. I would love to say for you that, like, you know, these idols they got rid of these idols and they were just gone, and they were just like, I wear Payless shoes now and like not into shoes anymore. The reality is that you already know that I have 400 pairs of shoes, but here's the crazy thing: I don't steal them anymore. Thank you, Jesus. Yes. I goes like, thank you, Juan. Yes. I think right now if I did steal them or have other ways to do that, right, I'd be illegal and I probably wouldn't be here. But along the way, there are so many cool people that I've met trading shoes, investing in shoes, meeting people. And they find out what I do. We have this conversation. They're like, wait. That's why I so appreciate Preachers and Sneakers about their call to reality of people that shouldn't be like, look, I ain't wearing no Louis Vuitton, like some crazy shoes that are like $8,000, right? I don't have any of that, okay? I have no Prada, okay? I have no Gucci, like only Gucci got is like nothing, right? It's Fucci, I don't know what it is, okay? It's like, there's nothing I have that's like crazy design or anything like that, right? But I'm proud that somebody said, yo, like this is not right. Like what are you doing flaunting these things, right? And that's just the truth of the matter, right? But there are other things that I could just go to the mall, to a Foot Locker, go to different things. We can have conversations where I'm aligned with people. And we talk about their lives and what they do in conversations. And some people are in my congregation. There's a guy named Jeff Lee. He's a sneaker customizer. He's worked on people's shoes from Draymond Green to Derrick Rose and to all these other places he's customized shoes for. He is an amazing brother in the Lord, gentle and soft, but he has his own story of where he came from, what he understood. He came from a really rigid faith of like cultish, of indoctrinating, but he has a skill with like machinery and imagination. And for this guy, for this brother who was one step away from falling away from the Lord, right, in different areas of life, for me to come in his life to actually have a conversation where I'm not trying to indoctrinate with Jesus. I just want to talk about, like, what sneakers do you like? We have this passion for J's. Like, how are you so crafty? Why do you do these things? And so this is me. I mean, after this job, I worked at other shoe places too, but then as I got older, obviously, I didn't work at a shoe store anymore. But Jeff Lee customizes shoes, and he actually builds shoes from scratch. So this is what Jeff built. Jeff built was like, hey, I want to build some shoes on. He's like, I want to build like the most like Christine model is the Air Jordan 1, the OG, 1985. And this is like the process for when he makes his pair of shoes. And so his process is this, right? He takes heron leather, he shapes it, he forms it. The sole is not from, it's from it's called a donor, which is a donor shoe. And so he forms it, crafts it, and it's basically better leather than Nike does, right? And what's crazy is that when he builds these shoes, right, it's to the very specific of his flavor and style and small nuances. And here's what's crazy what Jeff did. He's built 2 pairs of these. The first pair was Christine. He says, you know what, like, I don't want you to wear it, like, and just be my wear tester. I was like, heck yeah, I'll wear your shoes. Everywhere I go, they're like, those are a little bit off. Like they're not fake, but like they're off. Who did this for you? And I always have a conversation. So nostalgia, he kept his original pair. He makes another pair and says, can you wear test the second pair? And it's a pair that I'm wearing right now. These are his pairs of shoes that he's like, that he made for me. Right? I'll take him in there right here on the top. I'll just probably take him out for you, okay? So these ain't my shoes. They're still his shoes. This is his second pair. And I think when you think about the ways that people craft things, right, and do things, right, it's like a beauty of work. It's art, right? So here's this. Like we often talk about things that bring us joy. But we're also reminded that it shouldn't control us. These idols that we have in our lives should not control you. And I think at times, I'm 40, and you're like, why do you like, because like there's this nostalgia about, because when I was younger, y'all, I didn't have money to buy stuff. Do you see, like when I had worked since I was in middle school, and so everything I wanted, my parents were gonna give me the bare minimum. And so if I wanted something, I worked for it, and I got it. And I got it for myself, I got it for my siblings, and everybody else too. So then when I have things like, these things are intrinsic, they're material, yes, but there's a reason behind, like I do value it because for some of you all, right, you've been given like blessings on blessings, right? And like you don't have to work for it. All you gotta do is to do well in certain areas of life for school or be a good citizen, do this, right? I'm not saying that's interesting and bad in itself, right? That's like, like you like it's downcast. What I'm saying is that there are people out there, right, that are trying to earn something. And you have to understand why certain things in our life are idols. It became my idol for sure. For some of you, right, maybe idols not material things. It's like education. It's fame, right? It's clout with friends, right? It's things that you desire because you want to succeed, because you can make this and this and this. And how can that be an idol? I'm like, look, is that what Jesus is asking you to practice? And we can ask that. If you ask me does Jesus practice? I'm like, look, Jesus didn't have Jordans. He had Air moccasins, okay? Like he had Air Jesus, right? Like they were not this, right? Jesus could care less. You know, you cannot change culture. Christ can. You know, as you begin to be with Christ, your idols need to let go. As you begin to be with Christ, your idols will be let go. As you become more influenced by the ways that you practice the ways of Jesus, your idols become a little bit less. I remember when I was doing youth ministry, this one kid came to me and said, hey, I'm like, yo, those are some dope shoes. Where'd you get that from? He's like, and he was so, he's like, hey, I stole them on. I'm like, oh. I was like, sounds familiar, you know, like, I said, hey, I'll give you a deal. I'll just once you come to my office, I got a bunch of shoes, I'll trade you. He says, what, why? I said, just listen out to me. I have a bunch of shoes. What size are you? Happy in the same size. He picked out like just pretty rare like Nike SB shoes. I said, well, I'll trade you. He says, like those shoes are worth more than mine. I said, don't worry about it. I said, I'll trade you because at least like, these are legit. Like I got them. The ones you have on, they're stolen. And he said, well, what are you going to do with that? I said, don't worry about that. Will you trade with me? And he said, yeah. He traded with me. I wish I would say like he's now like, you know, a pastor somewhere, like all cool and all hip now. No, he's not. But in that moment, though, I gave him an opportunity to practice the ways of Jesus, to do something right. His shoes were stolen. They don't belong to him. I gave him a pair of shoes that were not stolen. Now, I don't know where he stole it from. I didn't want to know, okay? But those shoes that were given to me, I donated them. I think sometimes we forget that as idols become less and less, Jesus is going to show up and give you opportunities, right, to follow him and to do it right and to do it well. Christ in you will be reflections of anywhere you go. It will change the atmosphere and, dare I say, the environment and the customs that you do. Jeff may be a pair of custom shoes. There's technically still his. Every time that I go somewhere, I share about his story because here's a guy passionate about his giftings that he does, but he also knows that this gift is not him. This gift is not all he is. It is not an idol to him. It's something that we could talk about and enjoy, and we wear his shoes, and that's it. Specifically, when I die, I told my wife, do not sell my shoes for me, okay? Here's two guys that know what they're going to do. It's in my will. If I die, they will sell it for you and give you all the money, okay? Because you don't know the worth in them. And she's like, so, well, I don't care. If you die, they're all going to go away. I'm like, babe. She's like, all right, fine. There's value in why and how if you understand the idol and you understand that when you leave the idol and you give it away and you downgrade it because Christ becomes the most important key thing in your life, it changes everything. I'm in with this. I can change my shoes, right? But for you, can you change, right, your mentality of how you see idols in your life right now? Spiritually. Now, this is what we're going to do. It's 8:45. You all look hecka done. Just tired, worn out. We're going to end. I'm just going to pray for us. And tonight, like I wear a size 8. I'm a size 9 in men's, but like Chuck Taylor's, I wear a size 8. Okay, so if you are a size 8 tonight, like we're gonna switch some shoes out. I don't know who is a size 8 in Chuck Taylor's, okay? If that's who you are, come see me. Like, I got something for you. So at least, like, all I ask is that you wear them out, and you wear them out, and then that would be like a walking like example of like tonight's illustration for sermon tonight. And you can change your shoes. The way the same thing is how you could change some idols in your life. And for some of y'all, some of your shoes, like, they gotta go. Like, they stink. Like, it's nasty. Like, they need to go. Like, they need like to be given away. All right. For some of you, right? For some of you, you can help others, right? Put on their idols and say like, because you know them. Some of you like, you're great friends. You're family. And sometimes pointing out other people's idols, it's uncomfortable. But you know what though, fam? In community and church and believers and those who just believe in religion, those are all separate. There's a certain ways that you could be within those groups, those people, that you can approach one another and say, is that an idol to you, respectfully and kindly? And some of you, right? Like, I have youth that I still follow on IG and all that, and I see things that they own too, and I pray for them. I think about them. So I'm going to end our night tonight. I'm going to ask you to go have an amazing cabin time. I look forward to be with you tomorrow for just a plethora of different things. And also tomorrow night, we have some amazing time of just hearing some testimonies, some goodness from your own people here. Hear stories of redemption, creation, God's sovereignty, and miracles. I can't wait to hear that. All right, BAAYF, I'm going to pray, and we're going to end. Father, Lord, we come to you because every night is an opportunity for us to come before you, to know that there are idols in our lives that we need to be transformed of, to see that they don't rule us, they control us, Lord. And these laments of pain and sorrow come because we have put things before you, because we want them so much that when we want something, it means we're lacking. If we're lacking in you, then we're obviously putting things before you and made them gods and idols. In this room here, I don't know if it's a middle schooler or a high schooler that is lamenting and just thinking about sorrows that they have yet to really practice the way to Jesus. There's somebody here that's thinking about repenting and saying sorry and thinking about what can they do. Earlier I talked about this one girl that got married. Her name is Julie Honda. The reason she was in our ministry is because she had a concerned friend who wanted her to come. And here's why she was concerned: because she was cutting herself. She didn't want to live anymore. And she would show up to school with her hands and her arms full of bandages and bruises to cut. And there's somebody that loved her so much that said, hey, would you want to come out to this thing I do on a Friday night? I promise you, it's super chill. There's no judgment. You don't have to know Jesus. Just come. Like, we just play games and eat and a snack, and there's cute boys here. Like, just come and just be with us. And she came for whatever reason. To see a life transformed, not through us and our ministry, but as she began to walk with Jesus and find other avenues, she found a reason to get rid of these idols and these precious anxiety and to want to live, to be present. And so in this room here, I don't know people's mental capacity or the wellness or where they're at, but every night the gospel is given. Your son, Jesus Christ, on the cross for our sins, for our iniquities, our transgressions, because you love us so much. Doesn't matter if we're brown, named Joe, or yellow, different diasporas and different cultures, because you love us so much that you give us an opportunity to meet you and be with you, that we can receive you if we ask you into our heart as a Lord and Savior. If that's you, talk to somebody. If that's you, to repent, to reconnect with God, talk to someone. If you know that you're in a place that's so good to praise and to glorify you, and you are steadfast and continue walking, talk to someone. Praise our God. You are a God of love. You are a God of redemption. You are a God that's above all idols. All idols. Thank you for tonight. May you give us an opportunity to come before you, to lament, to sorrow, to speak into you, because you are good. And may we do it in the ways that you have created us and wombed us and made us to be. Amen. If you are a size 8, I'll see you up here in a pair of Chuck Taylors. Good night, everybody. Have a wonderful cabin time. Peace.